The Washington Post put out a tweet a couple days ago about Twitter under Elon Musk's ownership and the increase in propaganda. It's referring to a study by the European Commission. Right off the top, that study is not specifically about Twitter, not at all. I mean, it's about all social media companies, and it's about a specific time frame of 1 year, and it's also about a specific subject, which is Russian propaganda around the Ukrainian invasion. So it's really more focused on an EU-centric viewpoint. What this tweet, it looks from this tweet like the story must be just about Twitter. It's not. Did Elon Musk ever respond to this tweet from the Washington Post? I have no idea. I hardly ever pay any attention to the guy. I do know that this kind of thing pops up every once in a while. Every couple of months seems like there's another story released about disinformation, misinformation at Twitter, and Elon Musk's replies have usually just been to deny it. You know, sometimes he'll just throw up a chart or simple graph on Twitter and just say, look, actually disinformation has gone down. And, you know, it's hysterical because there's no way to verify anything that he says since we don't have any insight into Twitter. But this story from the Washington Post is based around a study that the European Commission commissioned, and it's based around the code for disinformation. The code, which eventually became a law. So it was about a year ago. They had a voluntary code, but much like the Paris Climate Accords. You know, it wasn't a law; it was voluntary, and Twitter had been a part to that. But then they left adhering to that code in May, and then in August 25th, the new law related to that code has gone into effect. Now, we really have no way of verifying what the Twitter staff is in regards to managing propaganda or any violations for that matter, possible violations. We don't know. Elon Musk has always just denied the existence of it or denied that it was that big a deal. There's no way we can verify it. We can't really verify how much staff he has to combat disinformation, misinformation, propaganda. He's always pretty much taken the Donald Trump point of view that, I mean, he's literally said that all information is propaganda to one extent or another. I believe it's been Musk's idea, kind of half-assed idea, that Community Notes is going to police disinformation to one extent or another. He believes in citizen journalists and taking polls to figure out what reality is. There's nothing that you can really rely on, like facts, experts, verifiable facts. They're not to be believed. It's what we decide is the truth that is to be believed. And the fact is, Community Notes is just not. It's ineffectual. There's no way it can police disinformation at all. Anyway, the Digital Services Act. This is the commission study that the Washington Post refers to. Excuse me. It's a very detailed study. There's literally millions of data points. The study not only quantifies what it's seen, but it also analyzes it for the impact on the EU, but also for how social media companies should react to the data. It's an in-depth dive into that too. Like, here's how social media companies should analyze what they're seeing. Here's the ways you should react to it. Here's a way to be able to focus in on the bad actors and all the different types of actors that there are. It's pretty complex, the study itself, but it is not an exciting read. I grabbed some blurbs out of the study. The scale of these risks is significant. Overt Kremlin-backed accounts that are not blocked inside the EU have a total subscriber number of at least 165 million across major platforms. In less than a year, their content was viewed 16 billion times. That's a pretty big number. But I mean, the way things work on the internet now, you can get a lot of impressions very quickly. But 16 billion is a pretty big number. Let's see now. Look at what it says here. In absolute numbers, pro-Kremlin accounts continue to reach the largest audience on Meta's platforms. Okay, so that's one data point that people are going to have problems with when they read. I mean, if anybody reads this study, which nobody will, when they look at the Washington Post headline, which referred to Twitter, they're going to say, "Oh, they're lying." It's actually Meta. No, the Meta numbers have, as a whole, in absolute numbers, they have the largest share, but theirs has actually been decreasing. I think what the point of the Twitter angle was Twitter's numbers are increasing. Now it says here, talks about Telegram. This is subscriber numbers of pro-Kremlin channels more than tripled on Telegram. They had some specific data points from Telegram. I've never been on Telegram. I have no plans to ever see it, but the shit happening on Telegram was horrific that they talk about in this study. Just truly abysmal. Second sentence. In fact, the reach of pro-Kremlin accounts has increased between January and May of 2023, with average engagement rising by 22% across all platforms. However, this increase reach was largely driven by Twitter, where engagement grew by 36% after CEO Elon Musk decided to lift the mitigation measures on Kremlin-backed accounts, arguing that all news is to some degree propaganda. Oh man, that's where I read that. First sentence. We conclude, based on the qualitative and quantitative evidence presented here, that Kremlin disinformation campaigns between February and November of 2022 reached a level of severity more than sufficient to qualify as systemic risk across all of the platforms. That's a pretty hardcore statement. Will Elon Musk reply to this tweet? I have no idea. I'm sure if he does, it'll just be to say, the opposite of what this says is true. The story itself is not true, I'm sure. But this would be an easy out for Elon Musk. As you recall, what he did with Erdogan in Twitter in Turkey, where Erdogan said, you have to censor this stuff, the election information stuff that I don't like, or else there'll be no Twitter in Turkey. And Elon Musk was like, sure. Why don't you just do that with these EU laws? That way you can get that monkey off your back, dude. Just say, look, it's not me enforcing this, it's the EU. He's got tons of money. Just do it, man. But yeah, community notes would never be an effective way to police disinformation. It requires bridging between people not of the same mind, and we do not agree on reality. People from left and right do not agree on reality. And plus it's cumbersome. It takes quite some time to get a note to surface. So, like this one right here, I got to come back and check these notes because some of this is just like utter bullshit. Community notes would never be effective to do fact checking, no more than taking a poll of paying subscribers is effective to discern what reality is. Tweet contains no lies. It's just everybody takes not everybody, many people take a very personal political point of view on what reality is. So honestly, going through community notes is it's really spending a lot of time going through garbage. And looking at these notes. Yeah, I got to come back and check. But a fine example is there was recently a story from CNN about two men in Uganda are facing separate charges of aggravated homosexuality, and this is the note that came up from that tweet. An offense which is punishable by death. And the note that was agreed upon was the headline misleads. The story tells of one man performing sex with a man with a disability and the other for having sex with a same-sex child under 12. Information like this requires a nuanced approach. First of all, it requires you to read. So you'd have to read the story itself. Now, you could fact check a headline if something within the story disagreed with the headline. You could fact check it. To say it misleads is to miss the point of the story. Now, could that headline have been written a little better? Sure, but it doesn't mislead as to the content of the story, because the very thing that they're pointing out, you can see they're referring back to the story itself as proof of their fact check. They're referring to the thing itself to go check on why they're saying the thing itself is not correct. This, some people should just not be in community notes, There should be a limit. Now, I of course have a much more nuanced approach to explaining why this fact check is not correct. That if you want to know, man, text me and I'll send you a paper about it. But the reason that, not the reason, we all have agendas, and the agenda of this fact check is was very quickly apparent by how people ran with it. This is what improper fact checks like that lead to. And that was, it was very clear right away that that was going to be the angle. CNN is promoting child molesters because, there's this hysteria about child molesters. There's secret cabals of child molesters and baby blood drinkers and all this utter bullshit. And so, when that fact check becomes visible, people are going to run with it. See, it's proof. It's proof of, not just this cabal of child molesters all over the place, but CNN is an active participant in child molesting. Like that whole topic is of course an important topic, but the hysteria, the insanity, the way people will just jump from any source of information any source of information just leads to child molesters. It's like we're literally surrounded by them no matter where you look. And, the belief that a certain company promotes child molesters or a political party is all about child molesting, it's insane. It's truly an insane time that we live in.